at Stanford University.
Please welcome the class of 2020.
made it! Oh!
Wacky walkers, please take your seats. Wacky walkers, please take your seats. Please find a seat.
How soon do you think the dignitaries will be? Right. Should we have that ready soonish though, that stuff? Get Pump ready.
Please rise for the President's Party.
Okay, one short one and then Pump, so get that ready.
Give me a short one and then stand by for
and then Pump.
A lot shorter today than I thought. I guess there's fewer kids.
Get Pump ready. Okay. Can we do let's do the price shirts real quick?
Yeah, but wait.
Joe, make sure you have this.
Play, please.
Joe, make sure you get the second part. Okay, hang on 1 second. Ready, Jeff? All right. Starting, ready? 1, 2, 3.
You should take this one out.
No, repeat. Hopefully. Ready? Here we go.
I greet you with grace and peace, and I welcome you to Stanford University's 129th annual commencement. It is a good day, friends. Here at Stanford University, it is our tradition to begin all communal celebrations with an acknowledgement of the land on which we stand and the peoples who have stewarded it across generations. I now invite alum of class of 2020, Joseph Ironhawk Little, to the podium to offer this acknowledgement.
Mitakuye, Chantewashtea, Nape Chus Apolo, Hiani Kinle, Joseph Ironhawk Little Amachiapi, La Kol Chaje Bluhashni, Ma Oglala Na Gabriel Tongva Yellow, Pilamaya Yellow. Relatives, friends, and family, I greet you this day with a good heart. My name is Joseph Ironhawk Little. I am Gabriel Tongva and Oglala Lakota, and it's good to be here with you this morning. Stanford University sits on the ancestral lands of the Muwekma Ohlone people. It is our commitment to community and inclusion at Stanford to acknowledge, honor, and respect our relationship with the indigenous peoples of this land. Thank you very much for being here today.
In that spirit of honor and celebration, I invite us to be together for the invocation. We come at last, returning home to mark this mountaintop moment. Though the peaks and valleys of our individual journeys look different, we stand together this day bound by our collective sojourn. Soon, this moment will be over, and life will call us once again onward. But right here, right now, we are called to savor this time together as we celebrate and honor our shared journey. And so in this moment, may we offer gratitude for the deep and abiding connections we have fostered here. Gratitude for those who have accompanied us, those who guided us, those who picked us up when we stumbled and fell. May we hold fast to our passionate love of learning, ever pursuing new knowledge to address life's most pressing challenges. And may we recognize the power we possess, known in our academic achievements, yes, but also in the strength that lies deep within, forged through fires of struggle and challenge, an undying hope that together we can and will build a better future. Called forth by love's unfailing optimism and justice's persistent demand, may we continue this journey of discovery and transformation. Transformation of ourselves, transformation of our communities, transformation of our world. Amen. You may be seated.
Well, thank you so much, Dean Steinwert. Graduates, Stanford faculty and staff, former and current trustees of our university, and cherished family members and friends, I thank you for joining us on this very special day to celebrate our 2020 graduates, along with some graduates from the class of 2021. It's my great honor to warmly welcome all of you and to express my deep gratitude to you for returning to Stanford. Many of you traveled great distances to be here. We are so grateful. Thank you all for being here to celebrate this joyful day with us. I'd like to begin by asking you to join me in thanking everyone who has made today's celebration possible, including the groundskeepers, ushers, event planners, and crew, as well as those who are working our cameras and the live stream to make it possible for us to share this celebration for those who can't be here in person. Thank you. Graduates, when you left campus in the spring of 2020, you didn't know, none of us knew, when you'd be back, whether the pandemic would last a few weeks, a few months, or much longer. So for you, it isn't just a commencement, it's a happy reunion, an opportunity to reconnect with classmates, professors, and mentors you had to say goodbye to abruptly. It's also an opportunity to once again stroll through the arcades on the main quad, relax on Meyer Green, and revisit your favorite haunts with old friends. Most of all, it's an opportunity to gather with loved ones, to remember and to celebrate all that you accomplished here at Stanford. And as importantly, to celebrate and share with one another everything that you've achieved since. During your time at Stanford, our faculty and our staff saw the potential in each of you and dedicated themselves to nurturing it. And I want to take this moment to thank them for their support and encouragement throughout your years here and also in the time since. Your accomplishments are also due in part to the dedication, to the loving encouragement, and to the extraordinary support of the family members and friends who have championed each of you in the years that you've worked towards your Stanford degree. Many of your family members and friends are here today in the stands of our stadium. Others are watching this ceremony from around the world. They include your mothers and your fathers, your spouses and your children, your siblings, your grandparents, aunts and uncles, your mentors and your peers, people who helped you along the way to Stanford and through your years at Stanford. And so now I'd like to ask all of our graduates to join in one of Stanford's cherished commencement traditions. Please rise if you are able. Please rise. Think of all those family members and all those friends who supported you on this special journey. Turn to your family members and friends if they're in the stands or watching from around the world. And please join me in saying these words to them. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please, you may be seated. To the family members and friends of our Stanford graduates, I say thank you as well. Thank you for entrusting your loved ones to our university in their time here. And thank you for all that you have done to ensure their success. Graduates, your achievements in the short time since you've left Stanford have already been remarkable. They've spanned every field and included accomplishments in business, scholarship, policy, and public service. You've launched careers, and many of you have moved on to graduate school, medical school, or law school. You're journalists, engineers, and teachers. You're helping solve some of the world's great problems by developing global public health policies, working in low-income housing advocacy, researching the degradation of plastics, creating sustainable clothing, and much, much more. We are so proud of what you're already doing. You're already having a positive impact in the world, and we will be watching with excitement as your journey continues from here. And now it's my pleasure to turn the program over to Stanford's Provost, Persis Drell, who will present the winners of the University Awards. Thank you.
It is now my pleasure and privilege to recognize the 2020 recipients of following prizes: the Walter J. Gores Award for Excellence in Teaching, the Lloyd W. Dinkelspiel Awards, and the Kenneth M. Cuthbertson Awards. I would like to ask the recipients of the Gores Awards to come forward now, and I ask that you hold your applause until I have announced all of this year's award winners. The recipients of the 2020 Walter J. Gores Awards for Excellence in Teaching are Samer Al-Saber, Assistant Professor of Theater and Performance Studies, Aditya Grover, PhD in Computer Science, Paul Nauert, PhD Candidate in History, and Allison Hobbs, Associate Professor of American History, Director of African and African American Studies, Kleinhans Family University Fellow in Undergraduate Education. On behalf of the university, I congratulate each of you for this recognition of excellence in your teaching. Thank you. Thank you. I would like to ask the Dinkelspiel Award winners to come forward at this time. The recipients of the Lloyd W. Dinkelspiel Award for Distinctive Contributions to Undergraduate Education are Liam McGregor, BA in Economics, Emily Polk, Advanced Lecturer in the Program in Writing and Rhetoric, and Harry J. Elam, Jr., President, Occidental College, and Olive H. Palmer, Professor in Humanities, Emeritus. On behalf of the university, I congratulate you for this significant recognition of your contributions to undergraduate education. Thank you. Thank you. Our next award is the Kenneth M. Cuthbertson Award for Exceptional Service to Stanford University. Will these award winners please come forward? The recipients of the Kenneth M. Cuthbertson Award for Exceptional Service to Stanford University are Sue Crutcher, Associate Dean for Human Resources and Faculty Affairs, School of Earth, Energy, and Environmental Sciences, and William S. Talbot, Professor of Developmental Biology. On behalf of the university, I congratulate you for this distinguished recognition of your exceptional service to Stanford.
Well, thank you, Provost Drell. It's one of my great honors as Stanford's president to address our graduates on Commencement Day. And what a special joy it is to be here this year, to be reunited with the class of 2020 here in Stanford Stadium. We've all waited so long for this day. From that day, more than 6 years ago, when you opened your email to learn you'd been admitted to Stanford, to your first day on campus during new student orientation, through years of rigorous intellectual exploration, through a campus shutdown and a virtual commencement celebration in 2020, and now through the first couple years of your lives and careers away from our campus. It has been a long and hard-fought journey but you are here. Your hard work and perseverance have brought you to today, and I hope that you are savoring this moment. Today, each of you is pursuing your own path and taking steps toward your future. You've already begun to learn a lesson that many of us learn as we leave college and go out into the world, that we live our lives in chapters. Your life, and every life, has distinct eras. Some you will see coming, and others will begin suddenly and unexpectedly. Childhood is one, college is another, but you'll experience distinct eras throughout your lives and professional careers too. The career you've begun may not be the one you'll be with forever. In fact, I predict that the vast majority of you, if not all of you, will have multiple chapters in your professional life. You may begin a family, and parenthood and family life will be a new chapter. You may move to new places in our country or around the world. You will enter eras of personal and career growth, of uncertainty, of caretaking, and of sudden change and loss. Those change and evolutions will continue throughout your life, as will the unexpected twists and turns that are a part of every life. As you come back for this delayed commencement, you may already realize that in reality, this is just one of many, many commencements in your life, one of many opportunities to pause and take stock of the path you're on, and consider how it has diverged from your plans in unexpected and often exciting ways. It's really important to take these moments to see how far you've come, how you've changed and grown and evolved, and to reflect on where you'll go next. These opportunities to return and reflect are precious and should be cherished. And while I certainly hope that you don't have to delay celebrations like this ever again, nevertheless, I hope you'll use this as a model throughout your life to reflect on how far you've come and how your goals have changed and on what you still aim to accomplish. Class of 2020, you went through something truly unique. The spring of 2020 was an extraordinary time. When I think back, I can still feel intimately the shock, the deep uncertainty and anxiety that gripped us that spring as the world shut down around us, and as Stanford, too, closed its campus. Rarely has a class experienced the total upheaval that you experienced in the spring of your senior year. Rarely, but not never. This morning, I'd like to tell you the story of the class of 1906. Stanford's class of 1906 had a rough 4 years. They were nicknamed the Calamity Class, having faced during their first 3 years at Stanford not one epidemic, but two: typhoid fever and diphtheria. Then, on April 18, 1906, after just 5 in the morning, a 7.9 magnitude earthquake tore along the San Andreas Fault. Students were shaken from their beds by shocks that were felt throughout the Bay Area. The earthquake and resulting San Francisco fire are thought to have killed more than 2,000 people. Our campus sustained significant damage, including to Memorial Church and to much of the Quad. In letters home, students shared their anxiety, their deep uncertainty for the future, but also their resolve. One student, Georgina Lyman, wrote about the confusion and chaos of the first days after the earthquake, right down to the empty grocery store shelves. But she described how students supported one another and tried to raise each other's spirits, and she wrote movingly about how they sprang to action to provide aid and assistance to the surrounding communities. Her words feel as timely now as they did a century ago. The class of 1906 ended up going home early for their final spring quarter, and commencement was postponed. Sound familiar? In their case, until the following September. That fall's commencement was a joyful reunion of friends and peers, much like this one. Their commencement speaker was Benjamin Wheeler, then president of the University of California, who reflected on the earthquake the previous spring. He said, and I quote, "The same disorder of nature which last April made men distrust the solid earth on which they dwelt, revealed to them the sure resource of human helpfulness. And the same distress which showed how small their actual need in things of sense pointed straight toward the things that are real and the things that abide. In plain language, what he conveyed was this: the earthquake upended their world, it caused deep disruption and upheaval, but at the same time, it revealed deep truths about humanity. World-changing moments do that for us. They reveal to us the things in our lives that are real, true, and lasting, the things that abide. It's in those difficult moments that you discover what really matters. It's a lesson that the Stanford community learned again in 2020. I'd like to share a few thoughts about some key things that, to me, were revealed to be true over the last 2 years. The importance of our connections with one another, the importance of our commitment to knowledge, and the importance of our service to the world. First, one of the main lessons of the pandemic, perhaps its central lesson, was about our connections with one another. We learned what it means to keep one another safe and to support each other in times of great challenge. Each of us also learned the depth of loss we can experience when we're forced to be apart from friends and loved ones, and how central our community is to the human experience. It was a vivid reminder of the importance of our connections with friends and loved ones. It highlighted how much we value those connections in person, though we also learned how to maintain those relationships from a distance through Zoom calls and text messages and virtual get-togethers. Here at Stanford, you have formed deep and lasting friendships. As with any hardship, the pandemic may have cemented those friendships even more. And I hope the experience of the pandemic has also underscored for each of you the importance of maintaining and nurturing your friendships and your relationships, which will help sustain you throughout your life. Even as you get consumed with your careers, be sure to continue to make time for your friends and for your family. Second, the pandemic and other challenges of the past few years revealed how important it is that we continue generating knowledge and applying it to the challenges of the world. As COVID-19 spread, researchers around the world, including at Stanford, studied the virus, its effects, and developed tests, vaccines, and therapies that helped so much. Others applied their insights to improving remote education, understanding how past pandemics exacerbated inequities and determining what steps can be taken to mitigate those effects, and much, much more. These experiences proved what we can achieve when we marshal our resources to address the great challenges we face. In your years as students, you've learned to experiment with ideas and explore and discuss difficult topics. As you enter the next chapter of your lives, I urge you to continue to seek out new knowledge, engage in spirited debate, and apply your knowledge and talents to addressing the challenges of the world. Which brings me to my third point. The last 2 years have emphasized the importance of service to our world. From emerging and chronic diseases, to disinformation and polarization, to the climate crisis and geopolitical tensions. Our challenges are global challenges, and they affect each of us. Each of you has the knowledge and the ability to rise to these challenges and to help transform the world for your own future and for the generations that follow. So in this moment of commencement, and in the many commencements that will follow throughout your life, I encourage you, each of you, to reflect on the challenges we face, to imagine how our world can be transformed for the better, and to consider what you can do to be a part of achieving a brighter future. In the fall of 1906, President Wheeler emphasized the clarity that follows great world-changing events and upheaval. More than a century later, the disruption caused by the pandemic has given each of us an opportunity to reassess our values and to reflect on what is true and meaningful and fulfilling for each of us. The class of 1906, too, had the opportunity to reflect on their values and priorities. on what is true and what abides. They left Stanford. They went on to be teachers, scientists, artists, doctors, and lawyers. They worked in business and government and became leaders across a variety of fields. They became mothers and fathers. They moved beyond the hardship of the earthquake and used what they learned here at Stanford to make a difference in our world and to build meaningful and fulfilling lives of purpose. Now you have the opportunity to shape your path forward based on those values and priorities, and we can't wait to see what path that takes. And that brings me to today's commencement speaker, France Córdova. France exemplifies how life is lived in chapters, as well as these values of connection with one another, a commitment to knowledge and truth, and service to the world. A Stanford alum, France is an accomplished and deeply thoughtful academic and scientific leader, currently serving as president of the Science Philanthropy Alliance, a position she assumed in 2019 after a distinguished tenure as director of the National Science Foundation. France has served as president of Purdue University, chancellor of the University of California, Riverside, and NASA's chief scientist. At Purdue, she established the College of Health and Human Sciences and the Global Research Policy Institute. And at UC Riverside, she laid the foundation for California's first public medical school in more than 40 years. Also a path-breaking astrophysicist, France was a leader in the emerging field of multi-wavelength astrophysics in the 1980s. She's published more than 150 scientific papers and was co-principal investigator for a telescope experiment that is currently flying on the satellite XMM Newton. France earned her PhD from physics from Caltech after she completed her undergraduate degree here at Stanford. Now, given her scientific credentials, it may surprise you to learn that she earned her bachelor's degree in English, which may explain how she has crafted a career involving multiple inspiring chapters that so beautifully ties together science, a humanistic outlook, and great leadership. France is a broad and creative thinker. Across her many roles, she has championed deeper and greater scientific understanding and thought deeply about how to engage resources and people in this effort. She's a staunch advocate for research investment, known for generating energy and enthusiasm among governmental leaders and the public into cutting-edge science. She's also a champion for women in science and has led the way in addressing the barriers that limit women in scientific fields and in working to create a culture of support in the organizations that she leads. In all of her work, France exemplifies a commitment to knowledge and to humanity and to serving our world. Please join me in welcoming France Córdova.
Hello, graduates. President Tessier-Levine, Provost Drell, trustees, faculty, and staff, and families and friends who have supported these graduates through their studies, please join me once more in congratulating the class of 2020. Graduates, when you began your college experience, you may have envisioned that you'd attend Stanford in Italy or Stanford in Cape Town. Instead, most of you attended Stanford in hometown. These past 2 years have been different than you expected, different than any of us expected. They may have been marked by loneliness, uncertainty, and the grief of losing loved ones. Despite this adversity, you rewrote your college experience in a way that future generations will recognize as epitomizing resourcefulness and grit. You found ways to stay connected to one another, pursue intellectual and creative activities, learn new skills, and occasionally go viral. One Stanford geology alumna spent her time preparing for 6 months on the space station. Congratulations, Jessica Watkins. Graduates, you stayed the course and you got your degree, and perhaps have already started a new job or graduate school. I admire your resilience. Now you've returned to celebrate with family and friends who have supported you as you became the person you are today. With one foot in the future and one in the past, you can think of today as your graduation ceremony and your first reunion as Stanford alumni. I'd like to thank you for inviting me to celebrate with you. I missed my own Stanford commencement. Virtual wasn't an option back then. Today, I'm finally participating in a Stanford graduation after more than a half century. It's a good reminder that sometimes the door that appears closed reopens. So why did I miss my own graduation? I had fulfilled my undergraduate course requirements as an English major 2 quarters early and was working across the country, pulled by the lure of sights unknown. I needed time off to explore the places I'd only heard and read about before embarking on my planned graduate studies in anthropology. My make-it-up-as-you-go itinerary started with waitressing in Vail, Colorado for the skiing, and waitressing in New Orleans for a taste of the French Quarter, all that jazz. And it carried me to New York City and to Israel as a guest magazine editor, and finally to Cambridge, Mass, to encourage college students to do educational projects outside their college walls. So I had a lot of jobs and subleases and unique encounters, all during what was supposed to be my final months of college. I told myself I wanted to broaden my experience. My secret wish was to accumulate the material to write novels. So you see, I was everywhere, into many disciplines at Stanford, many places afterwards. But when it came to the future, I was nowhere. I didn't have a clue where I was going. I was happy vectoring into the unknown. I told myself I was exploring real life. It's that road ahead, the one that's undefined, and how you finally arrive at that place where you know you belong. That's what I want to talk with you about today. Not unlike your generation, my class, 1969, was preoccupied with the social and political changes taking place around us. Our undergraduate experience was dominated by the Vietnam War, and no student at that time has forgotten the candlelight marches through this campus, the speeches sitting in the corridors of the administration building, yes, sitting in it and not outside of it, and the fear in the voices of our fellow students as they got their draft numbers. There was no TikTok to convey our generation's angst. Yet the ripple of dissent was so loud you could hear it across the country. Folk singers Bob Dylan and Joan Baez were our poet, our minstrel. Perhaps this state of disquietude made me bolder, less afraid to set out in an uncharted territory, to change plans that had been made at an earlier time by an earlier version of myself. My journey both ended and started during the summer after graduation. I was serendipitously introduced to neutron stars. It was early days for these endpoints of stellar evolution. The discovery of them as pulsing beacons of light came only 2 years before. And there were all sorts of hypotheses about that. Were they little green men? I was introduced to them via public television. A featured scientist figuratively dropped a marshmallow onto a neutron star, liberating tons of hypothetical energy. And my response to that was, wow. I asked myself, how do scientists know what they know? How does mathematics, a language devised by humans, lead us to greater truths about an apparently infinite cosmos? I discovered in that moment science. I resolved to become a physicist by the time I was 30 and study the stars, the same stars that I had wondered about since I was a young girl and looked up from my bedroom window at the night sky. What about your Stanford education, my parents and friends would ask over the next several years as I plodded through graduate school in physics? They asked, how could the poets, theologians, and linguists that you studied with so earnestly at Stanford help you explore the cosmos? That's what I thought they were saying. What they were really saying was, aren't you done studying yet? And is it really so hard for you to find someone to marry? As a matter of fact, those poets and theologians did set me on my science course, starting with my mother, who read St. Augustine and Thomas Aquinas to us when we were growing up. I was besotted with the works of Camus and Sartre in high school and the searching poetry of T.S. Eliot in college. And all of these questions led me to look to science for answers, answers about the origin and structure of the universe and our own origins. Lionel Trilling, a literary critic I had a chance to meet at Harvard, said, quote, literature is the human activity that takes the fullest and most precise account of variousness, possibility, complexity, and difficulty. Well, I feel the same about science. It takes the fullest and most precise account of possibility and complexity. Precise because of mathematics, and full because of the persistent attempt to find laws that are universal. I was hooked on science, and once I discovered it, never looked back, just up, with telescopes in space and on Earth. Science ignited my imagination and resonated with my curiosity. What comes with pursuing science? If you're plucky, a combination of persistent and lucky, the immense thrill of discovery. As a graduate student, I was the first to detect with the satellite dying stars and binary systems pulsing rapidly in X-ray light. And when I turned to public service as a scientist, I had the joy of seeing friends and colleagues make discoveries. In my job as director of the National Science Foundation, I had the honor of introducing to the world the discoverers of gravitational radiation on Earth, a literally earth-shaking result for which they won the Nobel Prize. And I had the joy of introducing an international group of astronomers who made the first image of a black hole's shadow. I think you remember that one, an image that appeared on the front pages of every major newspaper in the world and became the Eye of Sauron and Homer Simpson memes. I've seen countless discoveries turn into inventions that benefit all of us, like the smartphone each of you carries. Every capability of that magical device was discovered through scientific inquiry and experimentation. And then a genius put it all together into that nice little package in your pocket or in your lap, so you can actually watch your parents wring their hands on FaceTime as you explain to them that you are in fact pivoting to some unlikely, unplanned career. My own scientific background, my own background period, is complex. I was born in France of a Mexican-born father, a mother of Irish heritage from Queens. My 23andMe map literally covers the globe. It turns out that everything in my diverse background and everything I've learned, my Stanford exposure to great writers and thinkers, to visiting new places and studying other cultures, have made me a different kind of scientist and a different kind of leader. For example, I've learned through my work leading universities and science agencies that all scientists have a responsibility to be civic scientists, to examine how scientific discoveries can be used for good and to forestall potentially bad uses, and importantly, to engage everyone in this discussion. And I've learned that one of the worst things that can happen to science is when a promising young scientist leaves the field because they're exposed to harassment, belittlement, or unrecognized bias. So I worked to counter that by changing, for the National Science Foundation at least, the terms and conditions of our grants to weed out bad researchers. And I worked to make science more inclusive because the best ideas come from a diversity of thought, and that springs from different backgrounds and different experiences. As you chart your own path, graduates, I encourage you to remember that when you discover your passion and make the first steps of your career, everything you've learned, everything you've experienced makes you a different kind of contributor. There are no typical lawyers. There are no model doctors or model artists, and no standard scientists, no mold of a college president. Each has a unique background, a unique set of experiences, and a unique passion that no one else has. My advice to you is to close your eyes and ask, what would I like to become by the time I'm 30? Start moving in that direction. But keep your eyes open for side streets and bike lanes. You may end up on an even more incredible journey than you had foreseen if you remain open to possibilities in unlikely places. Wherever you end up, you'll put a unique stamp on that profession. There's only one you, so bring all of yourself to whatever you choose to do. My science career has been informed by my humanities studies at Stanford. Science and the humanities I've experienced are not so far apart. They're both anchored in notions of beauty and symmetry, both guided towards the truth. Both are about illuminating other worlds, the planets that surround us in space, the galaxies that open their secrets to big telescopes. Yet there are also the past worlds revealed in museums and history books, and present worlds in language and literature. You're surrounded by worlds to explore, and you'll create new ones, and you'll help to craft a more equitable one for future generations. Your collection of experiences, the ones you've had at Stanford, the ones you'll have soon, will shine a new light on all the worlds you'll encounter, whether in science or the humanities or the professions of business or medicine or teaching. It was a slow revelation to me, a wanderer and explorer, that real life is not somewhere else. It's inside of you. It's taking shape as you sit and listen, and emerges more fully formed as you read, inquire, and create. So by all means, vector into the unknown, not in search of real life somewhere else, but to develop it within you through a variety of experiences, relationships, and challenges. Einstein said, quote, "The mere formulation of a problem is far more often essential than its solution. To raise new questions, new possibilities, to regard old problems from a new angle requires creative imagination and marks real advances." Unquote. Great ideas come at the boundaries, the intersections of disciplines. They come from the diversity of thinking, of perspectives, of backgrounds. So graduates, Are you open to taking a different path? Good. Ask yourself, am I receptive to new ideas and ready to raise new questions? In so doing, you'll realize that the most precious thing you have collected is not your degree, but the knowledge that's engaged you, enlightened you, made you think, and inspired you to create. Well, I didn't completely fail my parents' expectations of me when I entered Stanford. I did meet someone after graduate school while working at a national lab in New Mexico. We met rock climbing, something I learned at Stanford. And it's a good thing I learned that. Remember I said bring everything you have in the past into the present? We met rock climbing on the cliffs above the Rio Grande River. I like to say that our marriage started on the rocks. We've been married for almost 40 years, have a daughter, a son in the Stanford class of 2010, and grandchildren. I've maintained many of my precious Stanford friendships. One former Flomo roommate, now a celebrated painter, recently gifted me a portrait of my daughter. When we all converse at reunions, we marvel at the different paths our lives have taken and our gratitude for the time we spent together here at Stanford, which really doesn't feel like so long ago. So I wish you similar sustained friendships from your time here and success as you pursue new paths and find and commit to your passion. I hope that you'll be curious, open to new ideas, and filled with your own ideas, lots of big ideas. I hope that you will be inspired and inspiring because there are more generations to come. Although, as you are Gen Z, I'm not sure what letter is next. So thank you, graduates.
Well, thank you again, France, for those wonderful remarks. We so appreciate you being part of this celebration today. And please join me in giving another round of applause for our speaker. Thank you. Graduates, though you received your degrees in 2020, we would like to take this moment to recognize your degrees and all that you did to achieve them. So now will the provost please present our graduates.
Mr. President, first, I have the honor to recognize all those who earned master's and doctoral degrees, and they will be presented to you by the deans of their schools.
Will the graduates from the School of Engineering please stand if you are able? Mr. President, I present to you those who earned the degrees of Master of Science, Engineer, and Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you, Dean Whittam. Graduates, I am delighted to recognize publicly your receipt of your degrees and your admission to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates from the School of Engineering please be seated?
Will the graduates of the School of Law please stand if you are able? Mr. President, I present to you those who earned the degrees of Doctor of Jurisprudence, Master of the Science of Law, Doctor of the Science of Law, and Master of Laws.
Thank you, Dean Martinez. Graduates, I'm delighted to recognize publicly your receipt of your degrees and your admission to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates from the School of Law please be seated?
Will the graduates from the Graduate School of Education please stand if you are able? Mr. President, I present to you those who earned the degrees of Master of Arts and Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you, Dean Schwartz. Graduates, I'm delighted to recognize publicly your receipt of your degrees and your admission to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates from the Graduate School of Education please be seated?
Will the graduates from the School of Humanities and Sciences please stand if you are able? Mr. President, I present to you those who have earned the degrees of Master of Arts, Master of Liberal Arts, Master of Science, Master of Fine Arts, Doctor of Musical Arts, and Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you, Dean Satz. Graduates, I am delighted to recognize publicly your receipt of your degrees and your admission to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates from the School of Humanities and Sciences please be seated?
Will the graduates from the School of Earth, Energy, and Environmental Sciences please stand if you are able? Mr. President, I present to you those who earned the degrees of Master of Arts, Master of Science, Engineer, and Doctor of Philosophy.
Well, thank you, Dean Graham. Graduates, I'm delighted to recognize publicly your receipt of your degrees and your admission to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges.
Will the graduates from the School of Earth, Energy, and Environmental Sciences please be seated?
Will the graduates from the Graduate School of Business please stand if you are able? Mr. President, I present to you those who earned the degrees of Master of Arts in Business Research, Master of Science in Management, Master of Business Administration, and Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you, Dean Levin. Graduates, I'm delighted to recognize publicly your receipt of your degrees and your admission to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates from the Graduate School of Business please be seated?
Will the graduates from the School of Medicine please stand if you are able? Mr. President, I present to you those who have earned the degrees of Master of Arts, Master of Science, Doctor of Medicine, and Doctor of Philosophy.
Well, thank you, Dean Minor. Graduates, I'm delighted to recognize publicly your receipt of your degrees and your admission to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates from the School of Medicine please be seated?
Now, Mr. President, I have the honor to recognize all those who earned undergraduate degrees. Will the recipients of the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and Bachelor of Arts and Science please stand if you are able? Mr. President, I present to you those who earned the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and Bachelor of Arts and Science.
Wow. Graduates, I am delighted to recognize publicly your receipt of your degrees and your admission to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges, and I am especially delighted to provide that recognition since within your ranks is a person of whom I am particularly proud, my daughter Ella. Congratulations.
Will the graduates please be seated?
Let's hear it one more time for all the graduates. And thank you, Provost Drell. Again, to our alumni from the classes of 2020 and 2021, On behalf of Stanford University, congratulations to you for all that you've achieved here at Stanford and for all that you've accomplished since. As you continue on in your careers and in your lives, whatever twists and turns your own path takes, you will remain forever cardinal and forever a part of the Stanford community. In closing, I hope you will let today serve as the first of many commencements, many times to reassess, to reflect, to think of how far you've come and the journey left in front of you. You have persevered through an extraordinary and challenging time. Now is the moment to take what you've learned about yourself and about our world, about the things that are true and the things that abide, and to use that knowledge to shape the life you want to lead and the contributions that you wish to make to our world. I believe in your ability to create a brighter future as you build your own life of meaning and purpose. Congratulations, graduates!
Last evening, your baccalaureate student speaker, Maddie Fish, quoted Octavia Butler at the end of her address saying, quote, "All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you." Indeed, you who have traveled back here after 2 long years of change know this to be true. May you know that Stanford will never be the same because you were here, just as you will never be the same because you came here to Stanford. As you leave this place again, may you never cease to grow and change, and in so doing, never cease to change the very fabric of our society and world for the better. As you do go forth with this blessing, may the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine upon your face. May the rain fall softly on your fields. And until we meet again, May you be held in the sheltering love with which you hold one another. Amen.
For more, please visit us at stanford.edu.